Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going deep on something I think we can all relate to. It's memory and how our brains change as we get older.
Yeah, I think it's something that everyone thinks about at some point, right? Like, especially as we age.
For sure, for sure. And to guide us, we've got some great insights from Cheryl Martin. She's a community outreach librarian who did a presentation based on the book Successful Aging. That's by Dr. Daniel Amen. Now, one thing she talked about right off the bat was how much anxiety we have around memory.
Yeah, I remember that. It's like we're all kind of worried about it, even if, things are fine.
Right, exactly. Like it's normal to be concerned, but sometimes those worries, they can get blown out of proportion.
She said that sometimes our worries are worse than the actual, symptoms we're having.
Totally. Like who hasn't freaked out over forgetting their keys or blanking on someone's name? It happens to everyone.
All the time, but then it's like this spiral, It's like, oh no, what if this is early dementia? What if I'm losing it?
Oh, I know that feeling. One of the self-assessment questions in the book, it really made me think. It asked, do you worry about seeming like dumb if you can't remember things instantly?
Yeah.
Like we're supposed to have perfect recall all the time.
Yeah, and that pressure can make us avoid doing things that are mentally challenging.
It's true. Like we're holding ourselves back because we're scared of making mistakes.
Exactly. So the first step is realizing this is happening. Cheryl really emphasized talking to your doctor about these anxieties, just, getting it out in the open.
That's a great point. So, okay, let's say we've recognized we're worried. What can we actually do to help our brains? Well, Cheryl shared this awesome checklist. It's called the Better Attention Idea Checklist, and it's full of practical stuff we can try.
What I thought was really cool about the checklist is how it connects attention and memory, which most people don't realize go hand in hand.
Yeah, it's not just about like memorizing facts. It's also being able to focus our mental energy, you know?
Absolutely. And some of the tips on the list are really simple, like changing your surroundings so you have fewer distractions.
Oh, there was one I wanted to ask you about. It said background noise bothers me.
Yeah.
What are some ways to deal with that? Because let's be real, sometimes quiet is just not an option.
Well, Cheryl said for some folks, white noise or even like nature sounds can actually help them focus better by blocking out, the more distracting stuff. It's about finding what works for you.
That makes sense. And then there was another one that said clutter distracts me. I mean, I like a clean desk,
Yeah.
but how does clutter really affect the brain?
It turns out that visual clutter actually competes for your attention. It makes it harder for your brain to focus on the task at hand.
Wow. So just by tidying up my space, I can think more clearly.
Exactly. And, that actually leads into a major point from Dr. Ammon's book. He talks about this idea of cognitive reserve.
Okay, tell me more about that. What is cognitive reserve?
Well, he uses this really cool analogy. He compares it to a brain 401k.
A brain 401k. I like that. So we're making regular contributions to build up this reserve, kind of like a retirement fund for our brain.
Exactly. And just like with a financial 401k, there are smart moves we can make and risks we need to avoid.
Okay, so let's break it down. What are the investments we can make for our brain 401k?
Well, you've got the classic stuff: physical activity, eating right, getting enough sleep, managing stress.
Okay, the usual suspects.
Right. But there's more to it. Things like strong social connections and keeping your mind active, those matter a lot too.
So it's not just about going to the gym and eating salads. It's about engaging our minds and having meaningful relationships too.
Exactly. And all those investments help to build up cognitive reserve. Think of it as a buffer that protects your brain from the wear and tear of aging.
Like we're making our brains more resilient, able to bounce back from challenges.
That's it. Now, when we talk about sleep, it's not just about feeling rested. It actually affects how our brains store memories.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking about that. Like when you stay up late working and the next day your brain feels fried.
Totally. That's because during sleep, our brains are busy processing and storing all the memories from the day, moving them from short-term to long-term memory.
So if you don't sleep enough, those memories just disappear.
Not exactly, but they don't get organized properly. It's like if you left important papers scattered on your desk instead of putting them away in folders. Makes it hard to find what you need later.
Okay, so good sleep is crucial for a healthy brain 401k. Got it. What about social stuff? I know hanging out with friends is good for my mood, but what does it do for my brain?
Think of social interaction as like a workout for your brain. Conversations, shared experiences, even just being around other people, it all makes your brain work in a good way.
I'm seeing a theme here. All these simple things we do actually have a big impact on brain health. It's not just about feeling good, it's about building that cognitive reserve.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting. These everyday activities are powerful tools for our brains. And, one of the best things we can do for our brains is learning new things.
Oh, I've always wanted to learn Italian. I even got one of those language apps, but uh, never really used it.
Well, maybe this will inspire you because no matter how old you are, learning new things creates new connections in your brain. It's like literally rewiring it, like adding new paths in a forest makes it stronger, more adaptable.
So it's not just about the knowledge, it's actually changing how our brain is structured.
Exactly. And this all ties into this concept of neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah, it's just a fancy way of saying that your brain can change and reorganize itself throughout your whole life.
Wait, hold on. So our brains aren't just fixed. Like they can actually grow even when we're older.
That's right. For a long time, everyone thought we were born with a set number of brain cells. And that was it. Like they just died off as we got older.
Yeah, I remember learning that. But that's not true.
Nope. Turns out that research back in 1998 totally proved that wrong. We can grow new brain cells throughout our lives.
Wow, that's amazing. So even if, someone hasn't been using their brain as much, there's still hope.
Absolutely. Our brains are really good at adapting, and the more we challenge them, the more we encourage this growth of new brain cells. It's called neurogenesis.
So how does this neurogenesis thing actually work? Like, are our brains just, like, sprouting new cells all the time?
Well, it's a bit more complicated than that, but Cheryl used a really good example in her presentation. Imagine your brain is like a busy city. Okay, neurogenesis is basically making that city denser, building more roads and connections between buildings. And those buildings, those are your neurons.
Okay, so more connections means the city or our brain
Hmm.
can communicate more efficiently.
Exactly. And there's more to it. It's not just about the roads. It's also like adding more doors to the buildings. That way there's more ways to get in and out.
Yeah.
That's called synaptogenesis.
Okay, so more connections and more ways to access them. Is there anything else happening during this whole neurogenesis thing?
Oh, yeah. There's also something called long-term potentiation. It's kind of like upgrading the infrastructure inside those buildings. The receiving cells get better at responding, so the connections are stronger and more efficient.
So it's like the whole city is running smoother, processing information faster.
Exactly. And all of this makes for a stronger, more resilient brain.
This is fascinating. So learning isn't just about gaining knowledge. It's like a workout for our brains, making them physically better.
You got it. Now, since we're talking about investing in our brains, let's talk about some things that can actually hurt them. Things that, drain our brain 401k.
Right, like the risks we need to be aware of.
Exactly. Cheryl talked about the obvious ones like smoking, being overweight, and high blood pressure. But she also mentioned some things you might not immediately connect to brain health.
Oh, interesting. What kinds of things?
Things like losing your hearing, depression, and not having enough social interaction.
Hearing loss. How does that hurt your brain?
Well, when it's hard to hear, your brain has to work much harder just to process sounds. That can make you mentally tired and even lead to, not wanting to be around people. Both of those things can be bad for your brain.
I see. And I guess depression and social isolation can kind of lead to that downward spiral too, right?
Definitely. When we're feeling down or lonely, we're less likely to do the things that keep our brains sharp, like learning, socializing, or exercising.
It's all connected. Our
Mhm.
physical health, mental health, our social lives, they all impact our brain health.
Right, and the great thing is we actually have a lot of control over these things.
Yeah. It's not about being perfect. It's about making choices that help our brains, right?
Mhm.
Like Cheryl said, making smart investments in our brain 401k.
That's it. And it's never too late to start making those investments.
So we've covered so much, the importance of paying attention, how powerful learning is, this idea of cognitive reserve, and all the things that can affect our brain health.
It's a lot to take in, but the main point is that our brains can change and grow throughout our lives, which is pretty amazing.
And we have the power to help make that happen through the choices we make every day.
That's right. So I'm curious, what really resonated with you from all this? What's something you want to try putting into practice?
That brain bucket list idea really got to me. I've always wanted to learn a musical instrument. I thought, oh, I'm too old to start now, but
Well, I think we've busted that myth today. It's never too late to learn and grow.
totally. It's like this brain 401k isn't just about, preventing decline. It's about making my life richer and more interesting.
That's a great way to put it. And that shift in thinking from fear to excitement, that's what makes intentional aging so powerful.
I love that. So what about you? What's on your brain bucket list?
I've always been fascinated by astronomy, but I've never really gone beyond, just looking at the stars. I think I'm going to sign up for an astronomy class at the community college.
That's awesome. I can totally see you out there learning about the universe and boosting your brain 401k at the same time.
I'm excited. And remember, it doesn't have to be some big thing. Even little things we do every day can help our brains.
You're so right. It's about finding those little opportunities to challenge ourselves, step outside our comfort zones, and try new things.
Exactly. So to wrap things up, I want to leave you with this thought. What's one small step you can take this week to invest in your brain 401k?
It could be anything. Trying a new recipe, taking a different route to work, talking to someone you don't know very well.
The possibilities are endless. Just remember, every step counts, no matter how small. It's all about working towards a healthier, more resilient brain.
It's amazing to think we have so much control over, how our brains age.
I know, right? And we've just barely scratched the surface today. There's so much more to learn about, like intentional aging and all that.
For sure. So keep exploring, keep learning, keep those brains active.
What's really cool is that the more you learn about this stuff, the more you realize it's not just about protecting what you've got.
It's about continuing to grow and change.
Right, exactly. It's like embracing this journey and realizing that our brains can actually keep developing throughout our lives.
So it's not just about preventing our brain 401k from shrinking. It's about, like, actively adding to it.
Yes. And that change in how we think about it, from being afraid to feeling empowered, that's what makes intentional aging so rewarding, I think.
Well said. Well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive. I'm feeling pretty inspired to take all this and, really focus on my brain health.
Me too. It's been great chatting with you about all this.
And to all our listeners out there, remember, you have the power to shape your brain's future. Keep learning, keep challenging yourselves, and keep those brains engaged.
Until next time, stay curious and keep investing in those brain 401ks.
Thanks for listening, everyone.